What's up, Swing Dynasty? Happy birthday to me. We've got a little commish video here. We're going to go over some draft results and kind of where the league stands in position groups. It's good to be back in front of the camera talking to you guys. I've really just been stuck inside for so long, and just missing talking sports people. It was great to be on the draft with everyone, and just really enjoyed that. The chance to talk to you guys and be part of league activities is fun. So I decided to shoot a video for my birthday. But I want our league always to be kind of a haven from the stuff we have to deal with in life and everything else that's going on. But it is my birthday, and I'm frustrated, and I just want to kind of get a chance to vent about the situation going on in the U.S. with the protests. And explain where I'm coming from on it. So Adam and I are brothers, obviously, and we have family that's been police officers in the past. My grandpa was a police officer. We also have family on my mom's side in particular that's I've got one aunt who married a man from Tunisia, and so my cousins from her are half Tunisian, and then my other aunt on my mom's side, she married an African American man, and so my cousins are mixed race, half black, half white, and so this has for us it has a familial connection, and it does make me a little bit more passionate about this topic. Just it shouldn't. I mean, it should be. Everyone should be passionate about this topic, but we do have that kind of the family awareness that I've grown up, without just it's not just all white family, which I think a lot of people would be better off if they had had diversity within their own family. It definitely changes the way you look at things. And number one thing I just want to get out there is that we all need to own our privilege. We all need to own the privilege that we're born with, whether it's white privilege, whether it's male privilege, or hetero privilege, or wealth privilege, or whatever reason you have privilege. There's nothing wrong with saying that. In fact, it's beneficial. It doesn't mean my grandpa worked hard. My grandfather that was a policeman worked hard. My grandpa that my dad's dad, who was not a policeman but was in the military and was he's an engineering kind of whiz kind of guy. He worked really hard for our family, and acknowledging privilege doesn't mean not acknowledging that they worked hard to get our family to where they are. It's just that we have to remember that their hard work bore fruit. And that doesn't always happen for people who don't come from the same privilege. Brooke's fucking redneck stepbrother, her mom married this guy from Grants Pass, which is not a nice part of Oregon. And she doesn't really have a relationship with this guy, but he's the kind of guy who just doesn't fucking understand this. He just doesn't get it. When we talked about white privilege, like 5 years ago before we moved over here, he was like, "Oh, I have to deal with racism. I walked into a mini mart, and every time I go in there, I got these Mexican guys mean mugging me." I'm like, first off, mean mugging is like the stupidest. When he said that, I already wanted to punch him in the face. But it's like, bitch, I don't care about your fucking machismo moment with some Mexicans in the Circle K. That's not what privilege is all about. Sorry, some guys looked at you bad. And in fact, the fact that that's what you can bring up is an example of your white privilege. Okay, we're not taught. You got some guys staring at you. Okay, that's not the point. That's not the problem. Everyone can experience hate. Everyone gets fucked with by the police. But not everyone's grandpa goes in for a loan 50, 60 years ago, despite having a good job, and is told no because of the color of his skin. And 50 years later, the family still in that neighborhood, a neighborhood their grandpa might have been trying to get out of, a neighborhood that had problems, a neighborhood without the best schools, and they're just people hoarded together in these areas, and the police look at them at one way, and they haven't had access to the best schools, the best jobs. The best jobs are across town. People, they walk in. It's just generational problems that have kept people of color in shitty situations in our country, just fucked up situations. and have made, we all know what poverty does to people. We all understand it, okay? White poor people, black poor people, if it leads to crime, it leads to gang mentality, it leads to people doing what they can to get by. And, more people of color have been held into those positions. And that's the kind of shit he doesn't understand. Is like, yeah, your dad worked hard, man. Your dad worked hard, and his hard work bore fruit. He got to move to a different part of town. He got to start a company. He got loans. He got the shit that you need to get your family out of fucked up positions that you don't want to be in anymore. And that's the systemic side that people like him can't understand. It's like, we're not talking about, oh, a black guy gets stared at badly in the street. Dude, fuck you if that's as far as you can see, okay? Sorry, some Mexican guy looked at you. He probably wasn't even Mexican. The guy wouldn't, he wouldn't know the difference between any form of Latino person. But it's just like, that's as far as he can see. So that's one thing that's been pissing me off, is that side of the family, because they're fucking so full of shit. And then the second thing is these people I've been kind of, every time post something on Facebook, is these white suburban wives, in particular this one whose husband's a cop. And it's like, she's just up in arms about these things. And you don't know what it's like. When my husband leaves the house every night, I'm worried. And then this just makes it worse. I'm sorry, when your husband's a cop in like Beaverton, Oregon, what he's dealing with, like a drunk homeless guy who fell asleep on the fucking curb of a vegan bookstore or something. Like, sorry, Daryl, not a vegan joke there. It's just a very Portland thing, to have an entire store dedicated to like vegan cookbooks. But that's like, I'm sorry, you feel that way. And then now your husband has to go to these protests. Well, okay. You know what? Maybe it's good for you to understand the fear that happens when your family member steps out of the fucking house nightly, that you haven't had to deal with for most of your life. And all these people are bringing up this fucking word divisive, and they keep saying divisive, and nothing is pissing me off more. It's like a fucking firecracker goes off inside my head when I hear one of them say divisive. We've dealt with 3.5 years of Donald Trump. We've dealt with 400 years of anti-black legislation and systems in this country. We've dealt with 2 impeachments in our lifetimes. We've dealt, and now that we're protesting for the betterment of people of color, now we're fucking divisive. Like, it's seriously like firecracker right in the center of my head. It's just like, I just want to, oh, fucking hell. I just needed to add something in here. I was watching back the video, and yeah, my rant got going, and I got onto the people that were pissing me off, and I just forgot, like, the main point of this is that all of this privilege and, all of these generational privileges have included the way police treat us, those of us of privilege. I mean, yeah, rich privilege, white privilege, male privilege. Brooke, the cops fuck with Brooke when she's driving way more than me, and that's just a white woman to a white man. It's the violence towards people of color, the violence. The incarceration rates, the disproportionate punishments in courts of law given to people of color. That's we all have to acknowledge that our privilege has made that shit easier on us. So just wanted to throw that in here because that's kind of the essence of all of this, obviously, and just wanted to make sure that I didn't forget to include that major part of that. So that's my rant about this. I hope we all can acknowledge the privileges we have. I hope we all can be there for each other. Just be open-minded and just think about the fact that, yeah, my grandpa worked hard, but he was taken seriously when he went in for loans. He was taken seriously when he went to try to improve his family. He was given an opportunity, and a lot of fucking people worked hard that didn't. And their efforts didn't bear the same fruit that my family's has because of the color of our skin. And I just want that, just want to have a chance to say it to someone other than Brooke, because that's the only person that gets to hear about this right now. So that rant is over. Sorry, I hope you made it through that. I'm sorry to put that. I know this is all you guys are hearing about, and this is a fantasy football recording, so I'm going to get to the fantasy football side of things now. But I wanted to get that off my chest. So, when we're looking at the draft results, I'm not going to do who had the best draft because it's so heavily slanted towards people like Sean who had more draft picks. That would be too easy to choose them. So I'm looking at, when I look at the best value pick I saw, and the toughest sell. I'm not going to call it the worst because, I make a prediction. I think this guy could be good, but I didn't like it at the value that he got it for. So when I look at the draft, I was going through, I was like, okay, who is the one spot where I would have given up a reasonable player to take that pick and at that spot? And that is, I'm going to give that to Bert with the J.K. Dobbins pick at the 105. If you ask me who has the most points, fantasy points out of this draft at the running back position, I probably would go with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think that guy's in a perfect situation. It's marriage and of opportunity and talent, and it's a perfect position. But the 101, obviously, that's kind of an easy pick to make. There's nothing against Sean there. He made the right pick for that spot. But if I'm looking at the best value, I love J.K. Dobbins, especially. I love Baltimore's running backs. I mean, you got to love Baltimore's running backs. So I think Bert sat there at the 105 and had the perfect pick fall to him, and he took advantage of it. The toughest sell for me, and this is a guy that has a ton of talent, and I really believe him, but that's DeAndre Swift at the 102. Phil took him, and I get it for Phil particularly because he has he has Kerryon Johnson, and it makes sense to couple. You're losing out the value that Kerryon Johnson had when they picked DeAndre Swift. And so now you're kind of like doubling down. But what the problem I have is you're doubling down on the Detroit Lions running game. When they were doing their best last year, they were throwing the ball all over the place with that quarterback that they have up there. Oh, man. I'm off my game so bad. Stafford, with Matt Stafford. So DeAndre Swift, the talent, I think he's maybe the best running back in this draft talent-wise, but I just hate the situation he was taken in. All right, now, so that's it. That's all I'm going to do for the draft. Best pick, my favorite pick was the J.K. Dobbins. The toughest sell for me at that position. Not sure, there's some third-round picks that whatever, who cares? I mostly looked at the first round here because that is the best indicator of success this year, especially, but also going forward. That's the elite group, supposedly. So DeAndre Swift is the toughest sell for me at the 102. Worst position groups. Okay, that's what I'm going to go into next. What I think are the worst and best position groups. I'm only covering quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. I'm not going to cover defense and kickers. No, thank you. So we're going to go through all the worst position groups. Now, each one I gave a couple options. I might say on some of them which one I truly think is the worst. Others, it's kind of like a tie between the two or it's too close to call. Some of them are dependent on injury recovery or team script. So when I'm looking at the QBs, I instantly saw Sean's QB group, and I was like, I don't want that. I don't want that group. I would hate to have that as my QB room. And that's he's got Jimmy G, Carson Wentz, and Jacoby Brissett. Okay. Philadelphia's offense should be better this year. Carson Wentz will have more weapons, and he has shown in the past that he could score fantasy points with the weapons. But he played all 16 games last year, but he still is an injury risk in my mind, and it might be that might be wrong, but it's one of those things where until you forget about, and he burned me in particular. So that's one thing I understand. Carson Wentz, his injury a couple of years ago burned me in my other league in the playoffs and the championship. And so that still just like sticks in my mind, and maybe that's bias on my part. So Carson Wentz, he is obviously the banner holder for Sean's QB room, and that freaks me out, especially when he's only got one other starter, and that's Jimmy G, who is not a fantasy hotshot. He could be, if they play the way that they seem to want to play in San Francisco, Jimmy G could be the last place quarterback, and the bottom three, certainly, fantasy quarterbacks. So, Adam having Drew Brees saves him for this year, and he's got and he has more depth, more players. I mean, he has Bridgewater. Drew Lock could be good. Who knows? I mean, he certainly has the offense around him. It was really Adam having Drew Brees that saved him. I think Brees has a better year than Wentz, and so therefore he's got Sean has the worst QB group for me. Running back. This is a tough one because I looked at JD's and I don't want them, even though he's got Todd Gurley and Melvin Gordon. And he's got some unproven young guys, could be good, but I mean, those seem to be his top two, Gurley and Gordon. If you would feel comfortable going into the season with those as your top two running backs, I would be surprised. Which is crazy because a couple years ago that sounded like, wow, man, JD might have the best running back crew. I also am looking at Phil on this one because he's got Kamara and he's got Kareem Hunt, and then he's got a bunch of unproven players. But I trust Kamara. Despite the down year last year, I trust Kamara more than Gurley or Gordon at this point. Gordon will certainly get the opportunity in Denver, but you're still dealing with Phillip Lindsay there. You are still dealing with Royce Freeman, maybe snagging or taking away some runs. And I just feel like you're going to see Melvin Gordon get a lot of opportunity and maybe not look that good, and then those backups possibly looking better, but they paid Gordon, so he'll get the opportunity. But I don't know if I like JD's running back group that much. Wide receiver, this kind of hurts because I have to say JD again is in the list, but I've got JD on a good note later, so I'm going to stick with this as being one of them. He's got Adam Thielen, who seems to be his headliner. Maybe AJ Green comes back to form. I am starting to feel like the AJ Green ship is well in the rear view. If he puts together another season, that's amazing for him. But that's great, wonderful. But I'm calling my shot that AJ Green is basically done when I put it on this list. If it was a healthy AJ Green, a consistent AJ Green, and Adam Thielen, JD wouldn't be on the bottom of this list. Yeah, he's got Jarvis Landry also. Edelman, I don't know what Edelman's going to be without Tom Brady, but what looked like, again, another solid group a couple years ago, now, if Adam Thielen's your headliner, despite the departure of Diggs, they are a running football team now. That's what they want to do, and I don't trust it, and that puts JD on the possibilities list. I am also worried about Bert's crew after Hopkins. First off, Hopkins, new team, new system, This whole COVID situation is not good for players transferring teams. They're losing those OTAs, some of them. I know they'll get their practices in. But really for Burt, it's Kupp dependent. Can Cooper Kupp play up to the level of his talent as a slot receiver? And that depends a lot on, is Los Angeles going to go with their two tight end personnel like they did last season? Or is Cooper Kupp going to be put in another three wide receiver package where he works out of slot, which is what he needs to do? Now, he is a slot receiver. He's a great slot receiver. I'm not going to slot shame Burt on Kupp because he is great, but I am definitely going to say that Cooper Kupp is not that great if he's in a two wide receiver set. So those are my two, and I'm also kind of thinking Lucas might not have a very good wide receiver group. I kind of noticed that after I wrote everything else down, so I just put on the side note, Lucas might not be very good at the wide receiver position. He's a really good running back crew, it's dependent on Fournette there. I'm getting ahead of myself though. But I'm worried about Lucas's wide receivers too. But I'm going to go right now saying that I trust Bert's team, and so I have JD as the unit I'd least like to have. For tight end, it wasn't too hard. There's a couple standout bad teams. Adam with Jack Doyle, okay. He's okay. Cameron Brate is a good tight end. That's what made this one hard, but they brought in Gronk now, and that's going to affect Lucas's tight end group too. But so he's got Doyle, Cameron Brate, Irv Smith, and Cole Kmet, the rookie. Phil's got Eric Ebron, good. Okay. Then he's got Vance, Greg Olsen, and Jimmy Graham. All right. And then Lucas has O.J. Howard, also hurt by Gronk, Ricky Seals-Jones, Will Disley, and Caleb Wilson. So this, for me, for the worst group, this is between Phil and Lucas. I think those are the two worst groups for tight ends. And I think it's hard for me to trust Eric Ebron. And again, I don't think that that's necessarily true, but I'm going to stick with Lucas. O.J. Howard takes a huge hit with Gronk, probably, I guess. I'm making that prediction. I like Will Disley, but Ricky Seals-Jones and Caleb Wilson, I think Lucas has the worst tight end group here. All right, best groups. Okay, so now we're going to move on to best groups. When I look at the QBs in our league right now, if I wanted to trade my quarterback room, which I think is pretty good, I think I have a good quarterback room. Really, I looked at the top 2 players, though. I looked at who I would actually be playing if injuries weren't an issue, and that made it easier for me because there are some really good quarterback rooms, but we only play one. So I looked at Bert, Daryl, and JD. I looked at those 3 as having the best quarterback rooms. For JD and Daryl, it's pretty simple. You've got Lamar Jackson for JD, Patrick Mahomes for Daryl, and for Bert, he's got Josh Allen and Kyler Murray. Now, JD has Aaron Rodgers backing up Lamar Jackson, and he's also got Joe Burrows on his team. Daryl's a little weaker, having Phillip Rivers as his backup. Could have a good year. And then Bert has Josh Allen and Kyler Murray. So those are the 2 that are on. Yeah, that was a disapproving look from me towards my family right now. I think I'd most likely want to take JD's quarterback room, though. That's the best one. So, JD, Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers, and Joe Burrows, that's a solid rotation and into the future, too. So, running back groups. I like the future of Sean, but not the current of Sean. So, Sean has Nick Chubb, he's got CEH, and he has Jonathan Taylor-Thomas. That's a good group that I think I want to have, but I can't prove it at this point. It's just an assumption, but it looks pretty solid. Adam, coming out kind of out of nowhere, he had running backs really held him down for a lot of last year, but he's got Zeke and Kenyon Drake. He's struggling with depth, though. He's got James Conner, but that's another player I just don't want on my team right now. I don't like him. I don't want him on my team. I don't trust him. I don't trust his role. I don't trust his health. So Zeke and Drake is good. But this one, when it comes to running back rooms, when you're just talking about pure talent, I know that there's some issues with the draft, but I got to take my own team for this one. You can call it whatever. You can go where the fuck you want. Saquon and Josh Jacobs alone, that's current and future. That's 3 to 4 years of me not worried about my starting running backs, aside from injury and stuff like that. I also have Devin Singletary and Marlon Mack, who are the draft. They took hits in the draft. But if you're telling me I have Devin Singletary most weeks as my flex, and Marlon Mack, who I still think could be the number 1 for many games this season in Indianapolis. I love that. I love my running back room. That is not a problem for me. Okay, so I'm picking myself on that one in case you didn't know. There's a couple other groups out there. Honestly, JD could swing to the best running back group in this league too. If Gurley and Gordon play like we've seen them play in the past, he could go from what I think is having right now one of the scariest rooms for himself, not for us. This doesn't scare us when we play him, but it could become scary, and he could be up here. But I'm picking myself right now. Wide receiver groups. I looked at Daryl, Steve, Mark, and me for the best wide receiver room. I think I look at it, and Daryl has Robert Woods, Stefon Diggs, and Tyreek Hill. Now, not a ton aside from that, and so, but that's a really good starting 3. That's really, really good. Steve has Devontae Adams, Juju Smith-Schuster, Cortland Sutton, and Jerry Jeudy. Sutton and Jeudy, well, really, it's Jeudy and Juju. Juju. They are the reason I can't give it to Steve this year. I don't know what Jerry Jeudy's going to be. And Juju needs to prove that he can play without Antonio Brown on his team. So good. I love Devontae Adams. He's one of my favorite players in the league, but yeah, he's not good. This is not good enough to put Steve over the top, and the depth kind of not there. Mark has DK Metcalf, definitely up and coming. He's got Mike Thomas, can't guard Mike, and he's got Lockett, Hot Lockett, who does. Yeah, I don't. I think DK Metcalf is going to and has hurt Tyler Lockett a lot, and he's got Brandon Cooks. I'll take Deshaun Watson's number one, and that's pretty good to me. And I think Cooks is the number one, will become the number one. So that's a good room right there. But again, I have to give it to myself here, and you guys can say what you want about it, but I have to give it to myself here. I've got on my team, I've got Keenan Allen, Allen Robinson, Devontae Parker, Chris Godwin, and DJ Chark, who were Chris Godwin, all of whom were top 20 wide receivers last year. Chris Godwin being the number 2 overall wide receiver last year. It kind of is surprising actually to look at. Keenan Allen was our number 6 receiver. Okay, Devontae Parker was in the top 15. Allen Robinson was top 20. He was like 17. Chris Godwin number 2. DJ Chark was like 15, 16, somewhere in there. And then I've also got Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown. I'll take Lamar Jackson, speed guy. With the way they run the ball, I'm just waiting for that to become play action, deep bombs to Marquise Brown. And I really like Preston Williams. I know it's my own team, so I'm bringing up guys that you guys want to bring up if you saw it. But when I've got 5 top 20 receivers, I have to give it to myself. And I think you guys would too if you could look past your hate, put on the hate blockers, and see it for real. Tight end crew, the best one. This is an easy 2-man race here. This is Steve with Kelsey and Hooper. Travis Kelsey and Austin Hooper. I don't know how Hooper's going to do in Cleveland, but he proved that he has the ability, the talent to be a top tight end. And Mark has Zach Ertz and Goddard. Oh shit. Yeah, not Goddard. that's definitely not his name. Zach Ertz and Dallas Goddard. Fuck. Okay, from now on he's Dallas Goddard, and if you say it any other way, you're wrong. He's Dallas Goddard. That's I swear that's a Simpsons thing right there. Chowder. Okay, so he's got Ertz and Goddard. He's got Gronk, and he's got TJ Hawkinson. So he's got future, he's got present. That's an amazing tight end room. I traded him Ertz last year to put with Goddard, apparently. And Gronk and Hawk are two. Gronk, I don't think he's going to be the Gronk of old, but he's Gronk. I mean, he's got fucking Gronk on his team. And then TJ Hawkinson, if he could catch the ball, like working on that one skill, TJ Hawkinson, if he catches the ball next year, he could be a top 6 tight end. I mean, the guy was, how many touchdowns did he drop? It was like 4 touchdowns wide open that he dropped. So you replace those, and all of a sudden he's popped up and looking very exciting. But I don't know about the future of TJ Hawkinson. I don't know if that was, I don't know, but I like the rest of them either way. So that's it. That's my video for today. Thanks again for allowing me to rant at the beginning. No real point to it other than just to say, this is what's been on my mind. And as your commissioner, I felt like we need to talk about it. Even though this is a distraction place, I needed to get some of it off my chest and just put out there, like, to someone other than Brooke, recognize our own privileges. So, all right. I love you guys. Happy birthday to me. I wish you were here. And Commish out. Bye-bye.